Bada bing bada.
Hi.
Hi. So it's just us. We did say we were going to have a guest today.
Yeah.
And some important things came up for Birdie, so she's rescheduling. We still will have Birdie.
Yes.
Don't you
Yes.
fret.
Don't you
Um,
worry.
Birdie will be here eventually.
She will.
But
And
but
I
not
want to know of the listeners who has figured out who Birdie is, like the people that
yes,
know us. Um,
which is the only
if
people
they
listening.
right. Like so if you know who Birdie is, what their real name is, DM it or email it to us.
Yeah, let us know. We're just curious.
Yeah.
So there was a point in the last episode where we were all just kind of giggling a lot about the tiny clockers.
Yes. But we never actually read the Tiny Clockers line to you, the audience. So we deprived you of half of the humor.
Yes, we kind of got caught up and we had all read it ourselves on the shared note and we just couldn't really utter it at the time. It was too much. It was too funny, to be honest.
Yeah, just couldn't do it.
So we had this list on the last episode for shared experiences, and on the list, the second note, it's kind of a mystery who added this to the list. At this point, we're thinking, what are our top options? It was ghost.
It was either a ghost or it was a hacker.
A hacker.
Yeah. Or a ghost hacker. It could have been a combination. We're not ruling that out yet.
Or maybe a bitchalante.
It's definitely a bitchalante. I think that goes without saying. It's a bitchalante ghost or a bitchalante
Ghost
hacker or a bitchalante ghost hacker. Yeah.
True.
There's so many combos.
So what the line actually was, to fill the audience in, was the noise of tiny clockers in the distance when things are silent. And it's just so specific.
So specific.
Why are they in the distance?
Detailed. Yeah. When it's quiet, like very strange. And so we have done all the research to try to find out where this line came from. We have searched through our text messages. Yes. I have searched through my email. I searched anything that could be searched. I was like looking for tiny clockers, searching for in the distance, searching for when it's quiet.
Tiny. I searched tiny on everything.
Tiny.
Clockers, I was thinking clockers might be a typo. So I'm like, I can't even search for clockers. I have to search the word tiny.
It has to be a typo. Like I was thinking tiny crickets in the because like yes, sometimes at night when it's quiet, you can hear the tiny crickets, but
are they tiny?
I just assumed I only think that now because I have the tiny clockers line in my head. So I don't really actually know. We've been bamboozled.
Yeah. See, I was thinking it was tiny clickers maybe. And for some reason I'm picturing like, you know, the old way they used to like keep track of how many people go into an amusement park and they're just like clicking that little
It's just
button.
Somebody out there in the street clicking.
At night in the silence, distantly.
Everybody has somebody in the silence distantly who's clicking a tiny clocker for them.
So the mystery goes on. We've gotten a little bit into the investigation and I have discovered that Amber did not add this to our shared note. I added it. But I know for a fact that this did not come from my brain. So it had to be something someone sent me. And I can't figure out where it was sent from or who did it. I reached out to the usual culprits, the usual people who give us stuff that they think would be funny for the podcast. And all of them are like, I have no idea what that is.
No clue. We don't know what you're saying. I texted Birdie after our recording of that last episode, which, by the way, we started recording at 9. What time did we finish? Like midnight 30 or something? It was late. And I immediately texted her so that I wouldn't forget. And so she woke up the next day to that text message that just said, "Did you send me the tiny clockers line?" And she was just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" No, I didn't.
What is a tiny clocker? Now she's always going to wonder.
It's, if at least we're in this together, we all collectively experienced this, which is funny because it was on the list. Is this a shared experience? And now we
Right.
forced it to be a shared experience,
Yep.
whether it was or wasn't. It could
Mm-hmm.
have been pasted into the wrong list. There's
True.
25 lists in
Mm-hmm.
that list. So,
But now it's a shared experience for all of you too. So you're
right.
welcome.
Yeah. So thank you to Tori for having the
Not me.
grand idea of for bringing it to for reading the line to our
Oh,
listeners, because we were so hysterical.
if you guys have any feedback at all, let us know. Like or at
Yes.
least I had a feeling that maybe there was like a bit too much like giggling, laughing moments
Hmm.
in the last, and we can edit that stuff out. Super easy to edit it out.
Yeah.
But the feedback we've been getting is that people like it so far. Um, I feel like I would be kind of annoyed by listening to
Yeah.
a podcast. So but people say that they like it. So if the laughing is like too much, let us know because we will
Yeah.
change it. We can fix it. We are here for
Please.
you guys.
Yes.
Audio wise, hopefully as best as we can be.
Tori really puts a lot of work into making sure the audio is where it should be. Okay, we've got quality assurance over here.
Trying.
Definitely. Like,
Hmm.
we're professionals. So,
But we do have no authority on this, but that's what makes us professionals.
right, which is why we're saying if you have feedback, we're open to it.
Yes. Let us
Now,
know. So we're thinking about shortening the reality TV bits, and in its place, we're going to put in a couple new segments. So one of the segments we're going to do is how do we feel about ... question mark.
yes.
And it's just going to be like kind of little topics that are like I don't want to say controversial because we're not going to do like political like religious stuff,
Right.
like nothing like that, but
They are still somewhat controversial. Like, it definitely will get the convos going.
right. Yes. On a like fun scale.
Yes, correct. Yes. We're also going to do a segment on funny texts that we've gotten throughout the week. So that I'm very excited about, and also just made me realize how funny all of our friends are when I was going through the week and like saving them to my note. I was like, wow, we're hilarious. I wish everybody knew us because we're funny. So,
Right.
yeah.
And all of our friends are funny too.
Right.
Like, how do we get so lucky?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All of them, they're all funny in their own
Mhm.
ways, and that just keeps us well-rounded. Okay,
Mhm.
makes us funnier by proximity.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm one
amazing.
of those people who definitely like picks up on like different personality traits like from their friends. I'm just like a kind of a mosh pit of like who
Yes.
my friends are really
Yeah.
is my personality. So
Yeah, a mirror ball.
one might say.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
amazing.
So also on our shared experience list last week, um, this was in the beginning of the shared experiences where I was feeling quite lonely, I will say, because
Because
no
it wasn't
one
a shared experience.
right. Yeah, no one shared these experiences with me. And one of them was feeling like you see cars on fire on the interstate at a rate that feels too frequent.
Yeah. Is it because of where we live? Like, is that why? Like,
Maybe like cars are just
wild.
spontaneously combusting.
It's just
I
too
mean,
hot.
it's too hot. Yeah, they're not made for this kind of temperature. Um, so my husband Brian actually saw a car on fire um this last week. So
And if you don't believe in the planets or the fates or anything, maybe now you will, because Tori was out here feeling so lonely about this shared experience not being shared with anyone that somebody out there in the universe was like, make her husband see a car on fire. Make
mhm,
make her husband.
mhm. And now I feel less lonely. I should also say no one was harmed. It didn't appear, at least. Everyone was out of the vehicle and
So
watching
scary.
from a distance, I think, probably waiting on the firefighters.
Right,
Um,
right.
so
I
everyone's
feel like
fine.
I would have been running around like a crazy person, just like with my arms up, and
Yeah.
like I would have just been screaming if my car was on fire and I had to get
Hmm.
out of it.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Hopefully the fire started after they got out. I don't know though,
Oh, I
he
just assumed. See, this is the
yeah.
problem with my brain is it just has weird assumptions all the time that, like, don't actually make sense. Like, the car being on fire before they got out, probably more likely that the car was on fire afterwards, but
I hope so. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're just driving down the interstate and you start seeing
it's just
poof,
like,
again, spontaneous combustion.
yeah.
I've learned more than I needed to learn about that in this last week because of some of the true crime I've been listening to, but we don't need to get into that.
Wow.
Uh,
That's amazing. The true crime I've been listening to. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's
man,
gross.
I can't do murder
I
or crime. It's just
yeah.
not for me,
I also cannot do it.
but I will.
No, I can't do it. I can't commit the murder. Um,
Oh, that part I'm okay with. No, I'm just
oh,
what's going on this week?
so this week I'm working outside less, which is always a blessing. So,
Bless.
I think bless. I think most people, or a lot of people, like have to deal with the whole like billable hours thing, like in the corporate
Mhm.
world. And so you pretty much have to meet a certain amount of billable hours a week versus your admin time so that you're actually bringing money in for the business that you're working for. Um, a lot of my billable work tends to be outside. So a lot of
Gotcha.
times I have to work outside a certain amount a week. But right now I have some billable work that I can get done in the office, which is just such a blessing because it's
Mhm.
so hot out right now.
It's
Um,
terrible, and it's only May. I'm so scared for July.
I know, or August.
Ugh.
Um, Yeah, and it's just like when I have those weeks when I'm outside like 2 or 3 times a week during this time of the year, it's so exhausting. Like I can't do all the extra little things when I come home, like getting laundry going, or
Yeah.
it's just like I am absolutely zonked. And even if I just go play a round of disc golf in this heat, like 2 hours and I'm just done for the day. It's so hot out. You're just so exhausted if you spend any time outside. So I'm just very grateful to have been indoors more and the laundry's getting done. And it's been a good
Hell yeah.
week.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Hmm.
I get uncomfortable just going to the grocery store in this heat.
Yeah.
Just going to the store, putting the things in the car. Then you have to take them home and you still have to unload them, and it's still 3,000 degrees. So, not a fan.
Meanwhile, every time your car is sitting somewhere, it's just ovening.
Yeah.
Like the AC doesn't keep running when you go
No.
inside. You get back out. Hopefully you don't have leather seats and shorts on. Yeah.
No
I'm
thanks.
starting to realize, like, our plan was when we moved in here that I would use my half of the garage for my car, but we
Mhm.
still have a bunch of, like, boxes and stuff that we haven't unpacked, so I haven't been able to park in the garage, but it's been fine, but now that it's getting so hot, I have the leather seats. If I'm like, "I've gotta get the garage cleaned out because I have to park
Yes.
inside. I can't sit on the seats."
No. It's so uncomfortable. Oh my gosh. I and leather seats are nice, but I never wanna buy a car with leather seats because of the fact that we live in Florida.
It's so hot, yeah.
You just, like, think about sitting on that, and it's like, "Ugh,
Mhm.
no." Ugh.
Mhm.
Well, that's great. I this week, okay, well,
Your
apparently we
turn
just
to
we just
accurate.
did woohoo. Um, this
Woohoo.
week for me was the last week of school for my boys, and I am just a little emotional about it because my oldest had his last day of, middle school and is now going to high school. So
I cannot.
I just can't deal with that. That's so weird. And then my youngest just finished 4th grade, so he's entering in his last year of elementary school. Meanwhile, his older brother will be transitioning to high school, and it's just so crazy to me how fast they have just grown up and it don't
I
blink. Don't blink.
I have known him since he was, like, what, 10 months, 11 months
Yeah.
old? Since
Yeah.
he was Finley's age, and now he's going into high school?
I know.
Mm-mm. No,
It's
stop it.
so crazy. I know I posted a picture of him yesterday on my social media and everyone was like, "Is he taller than you? Is he?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Is
no,
he? He
he
is, right?
is.
Yeah.
He's almost as tall as Sean now." So,
Wow.
he's really like physically grown, but also just like mentally and emotionally in the last year. He's just matured so much. And I just love this age that he's at. It's a lot of fun. And I feel like we have a really good relationship. So it's just,
Mhm.
it's just nice, but it's strange.
Yeah. Oh, you have done such a good job with those boys. They are just the
Thanks.
sweetest kiddos. Oh, okay.
They're the best.
And
I feel really lucky. And I I don't know that I always give myself credit for that. I'm just like, they're just good humans and they just came out
no,
like
that's on
that.
you. That's on you. So, wine review.
I can't wait
Um,
for this.
yeah, this week I've got Keynote. It's a Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
Sa- Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah. You're
Okay.
doing it right.
Am I
Like
getting better? Or
so
is it
much.
the same every time? So much.
It's No, I think every time you say it, it has a little bit more of an oomph to it. So yeah, you're
Okay.
getting better.
Can
Yeah.
you say it? Give me an example.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Sauvignon Blanc. Okay. So it's Keynote, Sauvignon Blanc. It is from Marlborough, New Zealand. They're really happy there. So the
Yeah.
grapes are made with love.
I think
Um,
Sauvignon Blanc only comes from there.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. It does.
I assume so because I've never bought one that wasn't. So if you guys out there know of a Sauvignon Blanc that's not from Marlborough, let us know because I've never seen one.
Oh,
They
how
always are from.
interesting.
Yeah, so I wonder if it has something to do with like the land and like the way
Right.
the grapes grow there. I don't know, or
Mhm.
if anybody knows why that is, or even if this is correct,
Yeah, let
keep us
us know.
posted.
Yeah. We'll pop the email in here at the end.
Yeah, we'll
Let us know.
continue to spread misinformation until someone corrects us.
True. Also, we have no authority on this.
Correct. Again, we shouldn't have to say that disclaimer. It's in our bios. So that's a
Right.
legal agreement, guys.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes. Okay.
Um, it was BOGO at Publix, so that's
Incredible
usually
deal.
my motivation. It was about $17, so you get two of them for the price of one.
Nice.
You can't beat that. I
You
know.
know, I'm always worried that when they do the BOGO ones that they won't be good. And it's like, oh, they're only putting it on BOGO because this wine sucks. But that's rarely the case.
Rarely. Maybe
Yeah.
this time, but
Oh. Okay, so
but
what do you rate this one?
how about your wine? Actually, I meant to ask that last night. You had
I had some Kim Crawford. That's the only wine I ever buy for myself. It is also a Sauvignon Blanc. Um, it doesn't give me a headache. And I so often with most wine just get a headache right off the bat, and this is just always my go-to since I don't it doesn't give me a headache. Unless you drink the whole bottle and then you deserve the headache.
yes.
So, you know, that's a different story. Um but yeah, I give it a 10 out of 10 because I get it every single time.
Okay.
And I feel like the Instacart people, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is her wine. We don't buy this for anybody else."
Right.
Um,
It's funny how you know the Instacart people in your because you live in a kind of rural area, so it's not
I
like
do. Yeah.
in the city I live in, I feel like I never get the same Instacart person or the same like
I
DoorDash or
do.
whatever.
All the time. And so I always Instacart from Publix, the one right by my house. And so I don't know if it has anything to do with that or like
Mhm.
their location. Like, I don't know how that works. Like, do you get assigned orders for certain zip codes or what? But um yeah, so I feel like they definitely remember.
So, for the wine review,
Just going
it's
back to that.
it's a little sour, but it's okay. I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Mm.
Mhm.
Okay. What about the one we were drinking during eras? What would you give that one compared to this one?
I can't remember which one it was.
I couldn't tell you because
Oh,
I
during
always drink.
eras recently.
Yes, not when
Okay.
we saw it
I would
originally.
give that I liked it better. I would give that an 8, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty I'm pretty picky about Sauvignon Blanc, and I thought it was I would say it was an 8.5.
Mhm. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
like that one a lot. That one was, imagery or imaginary? One of those.
I wish I had any idea, and I don't, because I didn't bother to look.
Um, so
Excited.
we can bop right into how do we feel about partners going to the strip club? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I actually don't care about this, but
Okay.
I have a couple of times tried to go to the strip club with my spouse, and that I don't think I would recommend.
Okay.
That not because anything, it was really just me being like, God, this is not appropriate for public consumption. I was just uncomfortable with it, but there
Okay.
was no one did anything bad or anything like that. It was just like I just couldn't get out of my own head and drank too much and then spiraled.
Okay. I could see myself doing the same in that
Right.
scenario.
Yeah. But if my spouse was like, I'm gonna go to a strip club, I'd be like, cool beans. Have a
You're cool with
blasty
that.
blast. Yeah.
Now, I will say that I am not cool with that. And
That's
it's
fair.
yeah, it's not I think it's just like a personal preference thing. Like, for me, I don't know, it just feels like so I just don't trust, I guess, that things are above the line. What is the things are as they should be in a
Yeah.
strip club, because I know a lot of people who've gone to strip clubs, and
Yeah.
there is pressure to do more than just watch people dance.
It
And
just brings out weird behavior in people. From
mhm,
my experience, the 2 times that I have gone, it was a group of people, and my spouse and I were with that group. So it wasn't like
mhm,
we just went together, just the 2 of us. It was like,
uh-huh.
"Oh, we'll all do this together."
Right, like a party.
Yeah, and at first it's really fun, and also I just was like, "You look great."
Yeah, you're killing
Like,
it.
"Yeah, you're doing such a good job."
So then, my next question, does it make a difference to you, like, if it's just every once in a while versus, like, all the time? Like,
I
if
think
it's
if it's
like
all the time, that's a little strange. If it's just
okay.
like we were out and we decided to do it, that's kind of what happened to me both times.
Right.
And they were quite like years spread apart.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just kind of like, oh, we're out having fun, and like we'll go do that because just
Yeah,
there's strip
because
clubs.
the area we live in,
Has
some.
it has some, and is known that it has some. People know
Yes.
that information,
Yeah.
not just us. So,
It's out
um
there.
yeah. So I think, yeah, I'm more apt to be fine with it. I'm under the assumption that it's just like an every once in a while kind of random sort of thing. If you're
Mhm.
going to the strip club on a regular basis, ooh,
Right, that, like, is another level of it, right? Also just, like, an offshoot from that, have you ever, like, had, like, a male stripper before?
uh
Or been I've only seen
no.
it on Snapchat from some of my girlfriends who
I
were,
don't
like,
even
at
know that.
bachelor at parties.
I've never been in a bachelorette situation or any situation actually with a male stripper. No.
Same. I've heard, like, a couple, story but, yeah, I've seen, like, some of it on Snapchat, and, like, the men, like, I don't think I would be very comfortable in that situation. I think, how do I feel about getting a lap dance from a male stripper? I think it's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
It's too close to I've, like, seen them, like, put the girl on the ground and then, like, kinda spread her legs and, like, almost dive on, like, nearly kinda, like, plank right over her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's I don't know,
I think it's just not a good idea.
I just can't get into it either, like, I like, if I was single, like, it's not it for me.
No. No, I don't see that being a situation I'm looking for.
And no judgment to people who it
Not
is
at
it
all.
for,
Do
by
it
the
up.
way. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, like
totally.
honestly, I'm jealous of you if you
Just me
enjoy that.
personally, I'm a square most of the time.
Right. I think that's what, and I'm like one of those like lame and boring, like, oh, I have to have a connection with someone before.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Unfortunately,
yeah, that's
I
also
didn't.
not lame and boring.
But yeah, it's not. But it's like that's the perception.
Right. Yeah.
Weird. Is
Yeah.
that a shared experience?
True. For me it is. But
Yes.
I share many of my shared experiences with just myself.
Just me and my personalities.
Funny text of the week. Do you want to lead this one, or maybe we can
I'm
bop
so
back and forth?
stoked. Yeah, we can go back and forth. That's
Okay.
fine. My first one is okay. So a friend of mine we were reading and we were talking about how much we've read, and she said 12 pages of notes for my murder so far. Calling it my murder is weird, but the one I'm covering. And she's researching a specific murder, so that's why she's talking about this. She's taking notes for it because it's just research. And yeah, the part where she says calling it my murder is weird, and I just was like, that's the part of it that I love the most.
Little murderous girl over there.
Yeah, and I relate to that. Like, also
True.
just a murderous crazy gal over here, so I thought that was funny.
My first one, this is actually a text from Amber. These are the times I wish it was socially acceptable to put a fuck off sign on your desk, a metaphorical away message, if you will. Or the sign could just say, for example, the old Tori can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead. But it's kind of a long sign, so we might have to workshop it.
It's funnier hearing it back than it was saying it, but I'm glad you saved that.
No, I love that one.
I will absolutely take credit for that. I would love to have a metaphorical fuck off sign on my desk. For like 85% of the day. There's only like 15% of the day it's okay to communicate with me in a professional manner, and then the rest of the day.
Super welcoming and warm during that 15% of the day.
Yeah. Some would say I'm a people person during those 15 minutes.
Right. So. But those 15 minutes do kind of vary throughout the day, given on the day. Yeah. They're kind of unpredictable. They're not on my calendar. So
exactly.
It's a bit of a toss up.
I really like that we shifted into 15 minutes. I originally said 15% of the day, but I think 15 minutes is actually more accurate. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Amazing. Okay, so my next text is from Birdie. Okay. And it's in regards to, again, reading. And it says, do I want to read The Language of Flowers again, or do I just hate myself? And The Language of Flowers is, just so you know, for context, is a book that just will destroy you emotionally no matter who you are. You could be the most cold person on the planet, and if you read The Language of Flowers, you'll just sob, okay? And this is a shared book that we've both read a long, long time ago. And yeah, her response was, I think you hate yourself.
So you asked if you should read that, and then her okay.
That's my own funny thing. Yes, it's me and Birdie, but it was like a dual funny.
No,
like,
her response is hilarious.
Her response is really, and it also says like bah ha 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 ha, like yes. For like 3 lines, and then it says, "No, I think you hate yourself." So yes, the first message was actually sent. Yeah.
No, I love that. That is a good one. And you needed the context of what you said to get into that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you need both parts, so it works. I'm not just saying I'm hilarious. I'm saying Birdie's
but she is. And we both recognize and understand that.
We're funny.
This next one is from a friend of mine who did not want their name to be mentioned. It is a GIF of one of the Sanderson sisters. Now, I have not seen this movie as frequently as most. So
That's
I'm
fair.
not as well versed, but it's the real crazy one
Mhm.
with the
The red hair.
Yes. What's her name? Do you know her name?
Um,
Okay, so it's not just me.
no, I do know it,
Oh, you
but
do. Okay.
Winifred.
Winifred. Okay, so it's Winifred Sanderson.
Mhm.
And then it's like a little up arrow in text under that, and it says, "This is how I feel every workday," with the little crying emoji face.
Yes.
And
I
I
concur.
can agree with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're my boss, maybe ignore that. But
Same. Keep it moving.
love my job.
Yeah. It's
But
great.
it's still
But
hard to show up for work every day.
it is.
I
It's like,
do,
and
but
then
it's
I
hard
show up and I'm like, "Oh, this isn't that bad actually." But
a lot of
I
time.
have to
Yeah.
give it, a hard time.
Yes,
Can't
you kind
just
of
be
work it
happy
up in
about
your
it.
head before you get there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got to have an existential crisis before 9 a.m. or I'm not living.
right. And we're kind of used to this roller coaster at this point, so I'm
It's
not getting off.
comfortable. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna stay on it.
Mhm.
Keep it moving. Yeah. My last text is actually from Tori today. um,
Oh
and
boy.
she said, just a dehydro paid bitch over here. And I'm not gonna give any context because I actually don't think you need it. Just a
It's
dehydro
pretty
paid bitch.
self-explanatory. Yeah,
Yeah, if dehydro paid bitch isn't on my tombstone, I don't want it.
true.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Love it.
I wouldn't mind being a hydro paid bitch on my tombstone.
Yeah, you're right, actually. By the time I get to that, I'm hoping to be hydro.
Mhm.
At least
Hydrated.
semi-hydro.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No hydro, not hydrated.
Hydro.
It's
True. Yeah.
dehydro is the funniest thing I've ever heard. You said that this morning and I was like immediately screenshot. Didn't even have to think about it. I immediately screenshotted it and added it to this list.
It was funny too. So I woke up like feeling almost like hungover, but I didn't drink it all last night. So I wake up and I'm like, oh, you idiot, you deserve this. Like this is you did this to yourself.
Immediate
And then
negative self-talk as
and then
soon
I'm
as
like,
my
wait
eyes
a
open.
minute, what did you do to yourself? You did nothing but drink water yesterday.
Yeah, just assuming I'm hungover.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't enough water. And sometimes that happens.
Well, and it's because we live in Florida.
But I did get paid. So that it was kind of like it was a happy,
Yes.
weird day at the
It,
same time.
it's like a good bad. It's 50-50.
Kind of yin and yang,
Yes.
like
That's fair.
yeah, vibes.
Vibes.
Okay, this is from Amber. This text is from Amber. The day after the Eras tour night at my house, so Amber slept over. She woke up to me cooking bacon and eggs, and then she headed home, and we continued to text throughout the entire day, having a conversation like we're sitting right next to each other. And I said to Amber, I was shocked that I didn't feel worse because we had like a fair amount of
Good bit of wine.
enjoyment beverages the night
Whew.
before.
Yeah.
And your girl just doesn't keep up like she used to. So I
Mm-mm.
thought I was going to be a dehydro bitch that morning.
Yeah.
And I
That's
woke up
fair.
feeling kind of good. And halfway through the day, I texted Amber and I think I started getting a little bit of a headache, but my text was, honestly, I still don't feel that bad at all. So I'll take it. I don't deserve to feel this good right now. Which I didn't. And Amber said, for real, we did it up. Like, I'm shocked. When I woke up smelling bacon and not having a headache, I was so confused.
I woke up and I was just like, why don't I have a headache? Why don't I feel bad? Like, we stayed up pretty late and we didn't sleep in, but it wasn't early nor late.
I think we went to bed at like 2 and woke up at like 8.
Yeah, so it was like a reasonable time to wake up when you haven't stayed up until 2 a.m. But it was just glorious. And then I just like come out in the kitchen and it's basically like Snow White out here making me bacon and eggs. She doesn't even like eggs and she's making eggs, by the way, which is adorable. I'm like, I didn't even think you could cook those, to be
I can
honest.
cook them. I eat them sometimes when I have to.
That baffled me. It's like, wow, she's eating these eggs. Okay, shit.
They were actually okay that day too. My eggs are real hit or miss.
You know, it's a hard thing to get the texture right. It's more like the
I think
flavor,
it
you can
was
put kind of whatever in the eggs and it doesn't really matter. But the texture is hard to
yeah.
get right.
I think it was the burnt bowl that the eggs sat upon.
That was the best part. If you could imagine Tori's, wok like pan, and then there's
Because
just
that's
this
all that was clean.
there's just this layer that looks like an actual piece of pottery inside of the pan that's just egg, and then the scrambled eggs inside of that. It almost was like, how is this actually happening? How
No,
is this
I had that
possible?
thought.
It should be in a museum.
So there's like a layer of like cooked egg.
Yes.
Like that had kind of burnt to the pan, and I didn't want to like peel that off and like have the crispy bits in with the nice
But it was
soft
like
eggs.
coming away from the sides of the pan, like the egg
Like
bowl.
shedding.
Like it definitely looked like it was shedding. There will be no explanation. There will only be reputation.
I predict in August, but we don't have to get all into that.
Oh, geez.
So I think it's your turn, right? Do you have more?
I have no more.
Okay,
I had 3.
I have one more. So this is from someone who did not want to be named. For good reason. You'll see why. The text is almost ran someone over. Also, runners shouldn't be out right now! Exclamation point.
What time was the text sent?
Oh, good question. It was at 7:29 a.m. So like that's kind of fair though. That's early. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing running at 7:29? All the runners are gonna hate us.
Well, you know what? This isn't your podcast. We're not runners. I tried to be for a time of my life and it sucked. Okay.
I will say if you are out there running at that time, I am inspired by you and keep on
and
keeping
pissed
on.
off.
Just don't get in front of the car.
Simultaneously. Yeah.
So what's next?
Vandy.
Okay, so before we get into it, do you feel like it's the end?
Yes.
You do. Okay.
I definitely
also
do. Yeah. I think the producers making them watch the end of the show or the end of the finale was definitely very metaphorical and not in a clever way.
Yeah, I felt like they showed it to them like that for a reason. And some of it I think was to like get the emotion like out of Ariana on stage, which feels a little grimy.
It feels very grimy, especially because she had said in a previous part of the reunion that she didn't watch this season.
Right.
Yeah. So I definitely think it's the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking
I think they
it
left
still
it
feels
open to
final.
where it would be okay. It wouldn't feel weird if they did do another season, but it seems like it's the end, especially because we know they're not filming right now. And normally they film in this summer. So
that's how I felt. Like they're trying to keep it open-ended in case, but they definitely gave like a final feeling to it, like a sort of wrap up.
They wrapped it up nicely in a bow.
Thinking
I
that
agree.
if we don't go on, like it's
fine as the ending. Yeah, I agree. It was pretty hard to watch this part of the reunion. Of all the parts, this is probably the piece that pissed me off the most.
Okay. Yeah, it was intense for sure.
Yeah.
Katie and Schwartz like having that moment together where they're both like tearing up and saying that like the time together wasn't wasted. If you're not sobbing during that, you are a monster. Like
and
that.
I am with Andy that it does feel good to see them as friends. I am not even going to sit here and pretend like Schwartz is my favorite person, but he's not my least favorite person either. Like I have a soft spot for Schwartz.
I don't.
And I have a soft spot for Schwartz and Katie when they were good.
Yes, I do have a soft spot for that. Yeah.
I think it's more that than Schwartz on his own. It's more just, yeah, you want it for Katie because it seemed like what she wanted
And
for
I
so
wanted
long.
Schwartz to get it together because they could have been good if he didn't do the
Yeah.
dickish things.
He's a child in a
He
man's body,
is, and
and
he's
that's just
never growing up.
unfortunate. Mm-mm.
Yeah. I'm glad that Sheena did admit she was being kind of annoying, before doubling down.
Yes, which was honestly just such an interesting juxtaposition to see.
Right.
Like,
Kind of having
wow,
trouble reconciling.
she took
The
accountability for probably the first time in her entire life.
Mhm.
Um, and then, maybe 5 minutes later is doubling down.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I couldn't believe it. I was really happy that they made the cast rewatch themselves at the finale. The only person I wish that didn't have to sit through that was Ariana.
Yeah.
It was great to see that because you could tell, especially Sheena and Lala, watching that footage back, you could tell they felt bad seeing
Yeah.
themselves acting like that. They knew that there was part of the way they were acting that was wrong. The
True.
looks on their faces, like Sheena was just like,
Mhm.
I've never seen her eyes that big. And even Lala's face.
Mhm.
But
And
watching Ariana listen to all of that was really tough.
that was so tough, yeah. And, yeah, it just doesn't feel right that they made her sit through it, especially, like you said, when she said she intentionally didn't watch the show.
Yeah. At the end, there was that part where it says, like, well, that's it. That's the end. That was good for me. Who said that? Was that Tom or was that a producer?
Um, I think it was Tom. So there's one part that I'm pretty sure it was Tom. I remember hearing Tom say something like that, and then, like, a producer also said something, so I'm not sure, like,
Maybe they were talking.
which bits were which, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that also felt very final with that being, like, the last word of the last episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Allah, man, just in general, she really could just say, "I'm so happy for you, Ariana, that when you went through this, you were able to set boundaries, and I wish that I would have been able to do that when I went through that, or that other people respected my boundaries when I went through something similar." That's all she had to say.
Yeah. It
What
was
she said was not that.
it was really hard to see because I mean, both we love Lala, we really do. To see her kind of stooping to where she's stooping is really sad because it's obviously because she's putting her experience is getting muddled with
Mhm.
what Ariana has been through, and she's thinking about her experience in Ariana's, and it's just,
She's jealous is what it is. She's jealous that Ariana is getting, um, almost treated with more respect, I think, and I could see that, like, I can agree with her on that point. I do
yeah.
think that they're being more respectful towards Ariana, and I think the reason that the production, the cast, and stuff is being more respectful to Ariana is because it became such a big thing publicly, and
Well,
when
and both Ariana and Tom were on the show. Randall was
Right,
only ever on the show, kind of intermittently. He wasn't even
right,
like Brock or Allie where they become like
mhm,
a fixture. And even though they're not necessarily a full-time cast member, they're
right, so
still an
they
integral part.
people didn't feel bad, like, having seen Ariana and Tom's entire relationship for, what, 9 years?
Yeah.
I think it hit people harder than Lala's because we only saw half of her relationship for the most part because we barely ever saw Randall, and then on top of that, the beginning of their relationship had these, certain aspects to it that just made it feel like Lala wasn't quite as innocent as Ariana was, I think, and so the audience really clung on to that, which forced other people to be more respectful to Ariana, I think, because the public wants that and is pushing for that, whereas Lala didn't get that, and she probably should have gotten that, but
Yeah.
it
When
just
she says
didn't play
at
out
the
that way.
end, when she refers back to Lisa saying, like, you get them how you you lose them how you get them, as to what happened to Lala with Randall.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
Lisa says that in the reunion.
Oh, I missed
That's
that. Ugh.
that not this time, that the season, the reunion where
Oh,
when Lala, everything had come out about what happened
okay.
with Randall. One of
Mhm.
the things um, Lisa said was, well, you lose them how you get them. And so, like, she's definitely not been shown the same respect. And it's because there's this public perception that, like, you're right, that, like, she wasn't 100% innocent. And
Mhm. Which I don't agree with, but I just think that that's why people clung on to
I
Ariana's
agree.
and the fact that you see both sides of the relationship for 9 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's just grown on people, but still, just because you're not like, I get where if she again, she could have said that in a respectful way,
Yeah.
and she didn't. She's just lashing out at Ariana. It's not Ariana's fault
Yeah.
that this
Yeah.
is
It's somehow turned into this weird flip-flop situation where everyone's treating Ariana as if she's the offender, if she's the one who has
right.
made the decisions and the choices that are the offense itself. Instead,
Mhm.
she's just reacting and says, I'm not gonna and I agree with her. I think that she's right to not let Tom have his moment on camera. And he still wound up getting it at the reunion. He still wound up getting his 5-second apology on camera and probably won a good bit of sympathy from that. But it's just like, she's right. If he really meant it, he would say that to her
Mhm.
when they were living together and they shared a home and they passed each other. And, like, there would have just been a different time that he actually said that if he meant it.
Yeah. Mhm.
But the fact that she's not willing to give him this public platform at which he can have this redemption arc, I think is totally reasonable.
Totally, yeah. And, like, also just not being in a place where she wants to even have a conversation with him too, like,
Yeah.
that's allowed.
Yeah.
When Katie and Ariana got stuck on each other,
It was the
that
best
was
part of the entire segment
mhm.
was them getting
Except,
stuck.
I don't know, Anne bringing out the drinks at the end,
That was cute.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that
It's
was
like,
cute.
"Yay, we finally got Anne."
No, but them getting stuck together was so hilarious, and I loved when Andy's talking about it afterwards, like after they're like unstuck. He's like, "Thank God that happened." Like, we had to have that moment, or else we were all just going to be sitting here crying.
Right.
Because they get stuck together because they're hugging and they're like
I know.
upset, and it was such an interesting juxtaposition. Again, I think I've said that 18 times in this episode. That's a drinking game now. How many times Amber says juxtaposition, you just drink. Um, seeing in that moment, seeing Ariana and Katie comforting Ariana and kind of like hugging her and like, what, and then they get stuck together. And then it cuts to like Lala and Sheena's like, what else can I say? Like, what else can I do? And she's like so upset because she thinks Lala is upset with her.
And then, like, that where did that like, Andy asked Sheena if well, he asked the whole cast, "Is there anything anyone else wants to say?" And then at this point, Sheena's, like, spiraling in her own head and
Yeah.
is like, "I just wanna say Lala is, like, got me through this." And it's just like, "What? Where
It
is the"
comes across as so fake, and the
so
unfortunate thing
ingenuine, and I don't
is that
think
I
it
bet she
yeah.
definitely meant those words, like, I absolutely believe what she said, but it comes off as so disingenuine because she's only saying it because she knows that Lala is mad because Sheena, once again, is trying to play all the sides. She's trying to make
Yeah.
sure her and Ariana are good, which to be honest, I think both her and Ariana are a little delusional because when asked like how their relationship is, they're like, "Oh, you're always going to be family," but it's like, yeah, but we all know they're not like kicking it on the reg.
No, and, are you talking about Sheena and Lala together or them with the other girls?
Sheena and Ariana, like they,
Yes,
they
yeah.
ask how they are in like their relationship, and they both kind of say like, "Oh, we're fine," but it's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It sucks that this is the way it's ending. I kinda wanted to see, and again, I'm assuming it's ending. Maybe it's not. I hope not. but I just felt like
I
it
would watch
was.
another season if the producers are asking. Like,
I
if we're
would
doing, like,
too.
a survey, you got 2
Right.
votes over
I
here.
would watch one more. I don't know if I would watch 2 more. It depends how the one more goes, I guess.
Yeah, it depends on how much Allie you give us.
That's true. Yeah. And Anne.
And Anne, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking of Allie, I don't know if you saw, like, the Secrets Revealed
I didn't.
episode.
I didn't. I was so tired.
Mostly it was stuff that, I mean, didn't make the main show anyway, so
Okay.
who cares? But there was a couple cute parts. They showed, like, some footage of Allie's party, launching her Girls Girl
Oh, her
song.
song?
Yeah, and that was super cute, and, like, she went up on stage and sang it.
So now I'll go back and watch that just because
Mhm.
I know
That's the
what to
only part
expect.
really that you need
I'll
to watch.
I'll I'll skip through. Yeah.
There's a little bit more with, like, Katie and Tori too, and I totally felt what you were saying about, like, her maybe being a little too young for Katie, because she just, like, had this different, like, air about her compared to Katie. Like, she was so excited and like, "Oh, I have a crush on her," and, like, just, like, it felt naive. Naive isn't the right word. It just felt
Juvenile.
young. If juvenile, yeah, it felt like a young love type thing for her, and then Katie was like, kind of just like, "I'm not trying to settle down," like, she was
Right.
Schwarzinger almost. Yeah.
It's so hard to picture Tori and Katie because Katie is just wise beyond her years.
Mhm.
I I don't know. I think like, I have an easier time picturing Tori with Schwartz, even though
Yeah.
I would rather her be with Katie because Katie's obviously the better pick.
Right. But yeah, Katie just didn't seem like as into it, and she seemed like more like, I don't know, just very young and excited about it.
Yeah.
And Katie seemed more coming from like an I'm experienced and like cautious
Yeah.
perspective. And I think that's just like the age difference.
I would just really love to have lunch with Katie. Like, just let's have a sandwich at something about her
Oh
and
my gosh.
a glass of wine or
Mhm.
whatever. Like,
I'll even buy Katie's
I
$20 sandwich.
yes, and I'll buy her a sandwich to sit there with us,
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Amazing. I thought you were
Hmm.
saying, like, I would buy one for myself, like,
No, for her and
no, she's
myself.
gonna give it to you for free because 'cause you're at her restaurant
No.
and you're the media. Technically, we are the
Right.
media.
True.
Ew,
Gross.
weird.
Summer house. I don't think anything super big happened in this episode. Lindsay Carl's still having trouble. Jesse was cancer free though. That's
Ooh,
the
that's all I
important
needed to
takeaway.
know.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, I love that there's one bullet point on the summer house
Yeah.
category, and it's just that
Yeah.
Jesse is cancer free. Because after, I think it was the last episode where you brought that up for the first time, and I was like, but what's the status?
Right.
Because
Yeah, he's good to go for now. So that's
that's
great.
good.
Yeah.
That's
Healthy
amazing.
guy. Love that.
So I have gotten myself back into the swing of reading again, which I feel like says a lot about where my mental state is at. Like, if I'm reading, then things are on the up and up.
Okay.
I'm
I love
I'm
that.
doing better if I'm
We're
reading.
doing okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always love when people ask me, like, "Oh, what are you reading?" Like, it's some philosophical bullshit, and I'm just like, "No, this is like fairies and porn basically put together." So, no, so I did that segment with you where we picked my next book. That was probably 2 months ago at least,
It was a bit ago.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a while.
Mhm.
And we picked the Medusa book, and I have tried to read it several times, and I will say I like the author's writing is good, and to me, when I'm reading, if I can't hear it in my head in a good flow, then I can't read it.
Yeah.
Um, so it has to sound right in my head to my other personalities for me to
I get
proceed.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I decided to just take a page from Book Talk, and I picked a popular book that just came out. Emily Henry is the author's name. So she just came out with a new book called Bunny Story. And the premise of the book is that narrator is talking about how her ex-fiance would tell the story of how they met. And you find out quickly that their relationship spirals out of control
Uh-oh.
because her fiance realizes he's in love with his best friend and leaves her for his best friend.
Oh, come
And
on.
his best friend is also in a relationship, and she leaves her partner
Oh, so the
for
main
them.
character ends up with the other partner.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and you know that going into this, like, you know, this going into this book, you're like, they're going to end up together. So it basically is the main character, she, at the time that she's engaged and the engagement gets broken off, she's living in a home that was owned by the fiance, and he bought the house. Like, you know, she's not on any of the stuff. So he basically kicks her to the curb and moves in his new fiance.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and so the main character has to go live with the
Mm.
guy that the best friend broke up with.
Um, have you seen Grace and Frankie, the show?
No, but I have heard that I would enjoy it
Yes, you would. And it's
before.
like the same premise where like their husbands have actually been like,
Oh, yes. So their husbands leave them for each other, right?
yes,
Okay,
yeah. And
yes.
then they end up having to move into the two women move into the
Okay,
same
that's cute.
house. And they just have like this beautiful friendship. It's so cute. And they like start a line where they make like vibrators for old people with arthritis. And
Incredible, incredible segue. Okay, I'm gonna watch that. Yes, so it's just one of those where you kind of know what's gonna happen, but it just feels good to read. It's a rom-com, you know?
Mhm.
It's great. So I sped through Funny Story in less than a week because they're just
Wow.
easy reads.
Yeah.
Um and so then I had to Amazon myself another book, and I'm like, well, I'm still not ready for Medusa. Um, I just am not in that place. So I
Mhm.
went and bought another book by Emily Henry. I recommend her books for sure. They're
Nice.
so
Okay.
cozy.
It's like the Gilmore Girls of reading or the
Yes.
Emily in Paris of reading.
That's a really great way to put it. It does feel like both of those things. Like all of her books that I've read so far feel like that.
List this week is confusing sayings.
This is a good one.
I like this one. The first one on the list is it's all downhill from here. Am I saying that right? It is it's all downhill from here and not it's all uphill from here,
Well,
right?
see, I was going to ask you the same question because in the shared note, the bullet point actually says it's all uphill from here,
Mhm.
and you stated it's all downhill from here. So now I am confused.
Okay.
Um, so this does belong on this list. You are correct about the
Yes.
list it should be on.
Yes. And so
Uh,
the reason I wrote all uphill from here is because I kind of had like I have like a seed of confusion with this saying and I just can't get it right anymore. And as I read it's all uphill from here, I decided I think that's wrong. So I said it's all downhill from here. But
I think it's all downhill from here
that is the
is
saying, right?
I think I know, I think that you're actually right. I think that it's all no, the more I think about it, the more confused I am.
Thank
I
you.
think that the saying is it's all uphill from here. But I think what they mean is that it's all downhill from here, which is confusing.
And during my maternity leave, um I think my work group chat I had sent like a photo of Finn or something and my boss said something about like, "Oh, just sleep when the baby sleeps," something like that. And I know, don't get me into that. And I saw Amber shake her head no when I said that.
Could not roll my eyes any harder.
Right. And I had texted him that like, "Oh, he hasn't been sleeping well, but like I think we finally figured this one thing out and it's all uphill from here." And then he texted me back in the group chat too, so everyone's watching it. This is like 3 weeks postpartum for me. So I'm
Oh,
like the emotions are all over the place.
so be
A-
careful what you say to me.
Right. And this is not on him. This is like a way that I reacted to it, but I was very confused. He texted back and said, "Don't you mean it's all downhill from here? Because uphill's harder. It's harder to go uphill, right?" And I was like, I felt so stupid. I
Right.
was like, did I get this saying wrong? And I felt like, and again, I think it was because my hormones were all out of whack. And like, this was
Yeah.
like some of the first communication I'd had with these people in weeks. And then I'm like, I'm such an idiot. I got the saying
I
wrong.
said the wrong thing.
Meanwhile, he's just making a joke, probably that like usually
Right.
I would pick up on, but I'm
Right.
in this like frazzled, sleep deprived state. Um, and yeah, I just felt like such an idiot. And then like for weeks, I was like, oh, I was such an idiot. Like I got that saying wrong. And like
Ugh.
I ended up looking it up. And it is supposed to be used in the way that I initially said it, and I think he was just making a joke in response, but I just didn't pick up on that
But the saying is
in the
confusing.
moment. It is
Like,
so
the
confusing.
English language in general is confusing.
Right.
Learning French wasn't easy, but it's like there's only one way to say most things in French. In
True.
English, you can say the same thing like 30 times and still not 30 different ways and still not know what
Right.
someone's talking about.
And still have to ask more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like need more information. I don't think I have enough details on it.
This next one, you're going to have to take over for me. You texted it to me one time. It's not the first time I had seen that.
Mhm.
And it's also not the first time I had no idea what the fuck it meant when someone sent it to me.
Before I say it, could you just pronounce what you think the word, how it's pronounced?
Simpacito? Simpacito?
Oh, good.
Simpatico?
Simpatico?
Simpacito.
It's simpatico. And I
Okay.
think I don't know if I spelled it wrong
It was probably me.
or if you
This
spelled
one I
it
did put.
wrong.
I will take accountability. This one I did put in there. This is not the tiny clockers.
Okay, you know, you just don't know. Okay, so the meaning of simpatico is if you and your best friend share many of the same interests and opinions, you communicate so well that you practically read each other's minds. So it's like
In
if we
sync.
say that, yes, simpatico. But yeah, it's just like when it's essentially when Bertie and I did that Giovanni Arnolfini thing that I told you about when on show's episode,
Mm-hmm.
where we basically had the exact same thought. That's simpatico.
Okay. That makes
Um,
sense.
but
I
I
also.
love that you're over here pronouncing it simpa simpacito, as if it's like Despacito by Justin
That's what
Bieber.
no, literally, that's what I thought. I thought it was like some kind of like play off of the Justin Bieber song.
Hilarious. That is what it means now.
So funny.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you learned that's not even that confusing. I just was out of touch.
It's on brand, so it is confusing because being out of touch is confusing.
True.
So,
Always.
fair.
Can confirm.
Can confirm. Yeah.
How about this one? Not for nothing.
Double negatives should not be allowed.
And
Okay,
like,
because that not for nothing means everything. Does it
does
not?
it?
Or
Does it?
not for nothing. So
It's
not for
not
anything. So not at all. But
right. But
but
it's a double negative, so how's that possible?
right. That's the thing that makes it confusing is that it's a
Yeah.
double negative, but it doesn't
Mean
mean
a double negative. Yeah, someone cut that one out of the English language.
get
Like,
that out of here.
not for
Whatever.
nothing?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
And what's the proper usage of that?
Not for nothing. Like, I did something for no reason. Like, it was not for nothing. It
Yes,
was
so
not.
just say
But like, does it make sense? Every time I say it, it sounds weirder and
sounds
weirder.
more confusing than the last time.
Like, did this come from aliens? These hips don't lie.
Why would they tell the truth is my
And
main question about that.
are
I
they
feel like
able to
if
speak to
some
me?
part of your body was going to lie, it probably would be the hips, no?
Yeah, I don't know. Are they, like how can they lie? Is where I get stuck. Like,
Who are they lying to?
about what? Don't cry over spilled milk.
That is so confusing because I think that if there was a time to cry, over spilled milk is a good reason to cry. It's
Yes.
expensive.
Mhm.
Okay. And you can't just wipe up milk and it be over with, okay? Because
Mhm.
it's sticky. So if you just simply wipe it up, whatever surface you have just spilled on is now sticky.
Contaminated, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I will say, freshly postpartum, I have never cried over spilled milk more than I have in this last year. All the breastfeeding, though, if you spill a drop of that, especially like the first few drops you spill,
Yeah.
devastating. Like
Precious.
bawling. Like it
Yeah.
took me 3 days to get those 4 milliliters, and I dropped it because I haven't slept the entire time. Totally valid to cry over spilled milk.
It's absolutely valid. If there's a time to cry, it's over spilled milk.
In lieu of story time this week, we decided to kind of do a little rotation thing where we switch things up so we don't run through all of our life stories in a couple months. So we decided to do a Reddit episode this week where I found a couple Am I the Asshole stories to share with Amber, and we'll see if she thinks the OP is the asshole or not.
I love it.
Okay.
I can't wait.
So
Just a disclaimer for anybody listening. I think everybody is an asshole. So,
if you're not the asshole, like you are kind of the chosen one.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, here we go. This one is it's titled Am I the Asshole for Yelling at My Boyfriend for Waking Me Up When I Don't Need to Be Awake? What's right off the bat, what are your thoughts just off the title?
No, you're not the asshole.
Okay. So, for background, my boyfriend and I are both 29 and have lived together for 3 years, and this morning when I yelled at him, he told me to post the situation to Reddit. The whole time we've lived together, he's had this incredibly irritating need to wake me up when, in stars, he wakes up, even when I don't need to be awake yet. He can fall asleep on a dime, but it usually takes me at least an hour to pass out. Melatonin gives me the worst nightmares, so that's a no-go. On top of that, I very frequently wake up a few times in the night. For the record, every time he sleeps, I let him sleep. It's Saturday and I woke up earlier than him. I just hang out and quietly on my phone, or I go to the living room if I'm gonna be any semblance of loud. He's taking a nap, the lights are off. I make everyone be quiet and leave him be because sleep is important. He has let me nap longer than 30 minutes, maybe 4 or 5 times.
In 3 years.
In 3 years. He says that he does this stuff because normal couples want to spend time together, but it feels like a control thing to me. He is very often out all weekend and some weeknights, which I don't mind at all because friendships are super important, but that shoots down the quality time narrative for me. I have 2 kids from a previous relationship that are 8 and 6. Both kids have strep throat right now, and one has scarlet fever on top of it. I currently also have strep throat. I have a constant headache, my throat and body hurts, and I'm especially tired. Last night he fell asleep at 12. I fell asleep at 1:30 and got up for the kids at 2:45 and 4. He wakes up at 6:30 for work, and he woke me up at 7 for zero reason. Since he pulled this yesterday, waking me up to lock the door for him as he left his keys at work, I gave him my spare key in the evening before so he could go to the gym. It was on the kitchen counter. I yelled, actually sternly admonished I can't physically yell right now at him, asking what on earth he feels the need to wake me up for. Does he feel wronged having to be the only one awake? Why would you not care about the needs of your girlfriend? I don't get it. He gave me the normal couples blah 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 and told me to post it here for judgment. Just for context, he works 8 to 5. I'm in college full time and pursuing a separate certificate on top of that. He does not pay my bills. Edit, he pays his half, I pay for my half of the rent, utilities. Sorry for the bad phrasing. And he also does not pay for anything for my kids. So it can't be resentment from that. All the chores that get done were done by me. He does start his own laundry and wash his own dishes most of the time. So it can't be that either. Pass your judgment upon us, oh Reddit.
Thank you for the permission, by the way. The OP sounds like someone we could be friends with.
I agree.
Yeah.
So she's definitely not the asshole then.
No, not at all. There's no planet in which she could be the asshole. I'm so sorry. As someone who is the earliest riser in the house, I would never wake someone up for no reason. I'm only waking you up if I have to.
Right. Like,
And
I
maybe
wanna
that's
be
just
alone.
on 15 years of being a mom and just knowing, like, you don't wake a sleeping baby, right? Unless you absolutely fucking have to. It's not just babies, okay? You don't wake a sleeping human.
No.
You're just asking for me to throw hands. It's not even a matter of if I'm the asshole. It's if I'm gonna kick your ass.
Get him out of your sleeping space is my
Yeah. Get him out
advice.
of
So, am I the asshole for not wanting my boyfriend to buy half of my house? So, how are we feeling at the beginning of this?
It's shocking because I gave the disclaimer that I think everyone's an asshole. And now I'm just like, "No, you're not an asshole."
So, I do remember this one a little bit now that I read the title, and it is someone who English is their second language. So, just kind of bear with me if I have some issues reading. Hi, sorry for my bad English. It's not my first language. So, what is my dilemma? I, 25-year-old, and my boyfriend, 28-year-old, have been together for 6 months and have been living together at my house for 5 months. He has a steady job and income, so that is not a problem. So far, our relationship was great. We did have some disagreements, but nothing serious. We have also talked about starting a family in the next year. We both want children, but right now I need to finish my law degree. We do not want to marry just yet, and it is also not very important in our country. So what is the problem? The house in question we currently live in and want to start a family in was built by my grandparents. My mom, aunt, cousin, and myself all grew up there. I became a sole owner 2 years ago when my mom unexpectedly passed away, and my dad wanted nothing to do with this place anymore and soon moved away to his new girlfriend, a truly wonderful woman that helped him when he was at his lowest. I met my boyfriend via a dating app. We immediately clicked together and soon after decided we wanted to move in together, reducing living expenses and being able to spend more time together. Yesterday, my boyfriend asked if we are going to split an ownership of the house, and I said no for the meantime, but in the future we can open the discussion again. I know the house needs a lot of maintenance and there are some things to fix, but I pay for everything so that he is not investing in something that is not his. However, he does almost all the repairs. I want this house to be our family home and I would like to pass it on to our future children one day. I don't want him to feel threatened that he has no legal rights to our home. He mentioned that he could buy half of the house, but I immediately refused. I am terrified if we split, we will need to sell my family home because I wouldn't be able to pay him out. I suggested we could gift the house to our future children under the condition we could live there and use the house till our death. He immediately refused that option, saying, "And how do you think it would benefit me?" I was a bit shocked but didn't say anything. So, am I the asshole for not wanting to split ownership of the house? What do you do in my situation? Any advice is welcome.
Yeah, I stick with my original opinion. You're not the asshole. It's actually would be crazy if you did split the ownership. It's not just a random property that you have no connection to. It's something that it has been in your family.
Right. And I get what it's this one, like, the reason I screenshotted this one is because it's like, I kind of get from his perspective too, like,
Definitely.
wanting to have some kind of ownership over
Mhm.
the place where you live, but also it's like, that's I thought she came up with a good solution that, like, well, our children can have it. But I guess that doesn't do much for him as far as like,
Yeah, I guess yeah, it's not really like protecting his investment in it. I think that's just a unfortunately tough situation. There's probably not a great answer no matter what.
mhm,
Other than time,
mhm.
I think when you say you have been together for 6 months and you're considering definitely gonna be a no for me, dog, you're gonna have to add like 1 to 2 more years at
At
least.
least.
At a minimum, at least
Yeah.
a couple years,
I
you
think
know?
that's my biggest thing too, is why I'm like, absolutely not the asshole, because literally it's been 6 months.
Yeah, that's a little fast. I'm not saying it's crazy.
No, but don't sign away your family heirlooms at that point. Kind of
Maybe
hold on to
not.
those a bit.
maybe not the
longer.
best decision. Yeah. Interesting. I like these.
It's kind of fun, right?
Yeah. I also like that you asked me if they're the asshole before I know the full story.
Mm-hmm.
That feels appropriate.
And you've nailed it both times.
I'm sticking to my guns.
So that's the end of story time.
Follow us on Instagram at Out of Touch PCast. Follow us on TikTok at Out of Touch Moments. And please shoot us an email at outoftouchcast@gmail.com.
Boom.
Bye.